All right. So, Eric, I'm keeping it simple, okay? Because sometimes, like, I've seen people ask, like, what's your favorite 30 guitar pedals? And the person's like, what? So I'm keeping it at 3, okay? So 3, usually the stream of mind can kind of follow along. So out of all the amps that you own right now, what are your top 3 amplifiers?
I would say the Ampeg VT40, which is a Queens of the Stone Age amp. I don't use it the same way that they do, so I dare to put it on my list. I think I've been able to make it a tiny bit myself. So definitely the VT40. I would say a deluxe reverb Fender.
Nice.
That's usually the thing that I put on the list when I was touring. I felt really home with that. And for the last thing, my Silvertone 1483.
You have an original one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
nice.
That was another thing that I was chasing because of Jack White from the White Stripes. He plays a 1484, like the bigger one. But mine is originally a bass amp, but it's fantastic on guitar. It's incredible. It is really hard to deal with. I think I've had it like serviced at least a couple of times. I've spent a lot of money on that amp. It's not made to last, but when you have it working, it is amazing. So that's definitely there on my list as well.
Very interesting choice. Now, your top 3 pedals. I know you own an original Klon, so I'm curious to see if it's going to make your list or not. So, what are your top 3 pedals?
I think I'm putting that on there because just because the whole thing about Klons, like I feel that I did a good investment. I made so many videos with it. It sounds good for certain things. I wouldn't use it like as my daily overdrive pedal, but for certain things, it's really good. So that's on there. And I really like the Boss SD1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
that was like the first pedal that I got. Or I think I got the DS1 before that, and I didn't like that one. So I got the SD1. And I still like that because it compresses the sound so much. I just like the character that it adds. It has some issues, definitely, but it's still a good pedal. And I think the last one, I would say probably a Memory Man Electro Harmonics. That's like, you can just turn that on and it has a vibe that I'm really into.
Yeah.
I don't have one at the moment, but I think I need to get one again. Yep.
Yeah, and that could make for a cool video too. Okay, so I know you have more than one guitar. So what are your top 3 guitars?
I would say right now it's my Gibson Explorer for the more heavy stuff. I was just super lucky with that one. Found it on Facebook Marketplace. Pretty cheap. That one is amazing. And then my Pinehome S, what is it called again? It's a Strat. It's a Strat replica. I made a video of that with the guy building it. I was sort of like documenting the whole process. I've never been that into Strats, but that one is just amazing. Sorry. And my last one is my Fano PX6. That's like the best guitar that I have. I started my YouTube channel with that guitar. Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I when I started to follow you, I'm trying to remember. I think it was like 2012, 13, something like that. I remember you were playing that guitar almost like exclusively for just about every video you did. And I didn't know the brand at the time. So I was like, what guitar is that? Does it have gold foil? pickups in there?
No, it's Firebird style pickups.
Firebird, that's right.
A lot of people
yeah.
mistake them for mini humbuckers. I thought they were mini humbuckers for many years as well, but there's a difference. Yeah.
So, my next question for you. I know you're a big fan of Queen of the Stone Age. What are your top 3 songs?
Ooh. Millionaire from Songs for the Deaf. Yeah. That's a banger.
Yeah, it's a total banger.
And I Appear Missing and First It Giveth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. First It Giveth is another one of those bangers. Every time that would run in the there was this like sort of like rock metal discotheque that I would go 20,
rock metal
20
discotheque. That's
yeah, exactly. So here in my hometown, we have this venue called the Live Music Hall, which is usually a concert venue, but they also host parties in there. And on Fridays, you would have like a sort of 80s themed party where like 80s music was on. And on Saturday, we would have an event that was called Rock Garden. And in Rock Garden, they would have the starts at 10, but nobody goes there at 10, obviously. So like you enter at 12 and you're blasted away because like Korn or Slipknot was playing, or like really like heavy stuff. But they were playing everything, from Pearl Jam to Opeth, pretty much. And yeah, that's where it's going. And every time First It Giveth was on, I would storm the dance floor and like go crazy, because it was like it's such an amazing song to move weird to that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so my last question for you, Eric. This is the infamous desert island question.
Yeah.
So let's not go in the weeds of if there's electricity and all that. It's more of like, what's your top, like, let's say 1 amp, 1 guitar, and a small board. You could have as many pedals as you want on there. What would you gig with for your own pleasure? What would be the amp, the guitar, and the pedals?
I would probably do the Fano PX6 as my guitar. And maybe I would just like skip the pedal board. Because I could play like, I could just turn up the amp, and I would just enjoy that, and maybe the silver tone then. I wouldn't need to bring a tuner, by the way. I'm just horrible at tuning by ear, so a small pedal board with a tuner, and maybe a clone to push the amp a bit. But yeah, I would keep it pretty like minimal on the pedal board, I think, and just like be able to play loud. Yeah, maybe that's a bit boring, but yeah, I think that's what I would go for.
No, it's actually very, very telling, because I do this now every time we have a guest. I ask them about gear, and it's really fascinating to see a more pragmatic approach to the gear. Like, it just tells you that if you had no choice, you know exactly what you would limit down to. If you were to ask me this question right now, today, I would give you an answer that tomorrow would be completely different. So today, maybe I would plug into the amp I have right here beside me, and that would be my desert island amp. But then I'd be screwed, because then I would go on the island and go, why didn't I choose the Vox AC50? Like, I just can't make up my mind, and I really enjoy the fact that some of you guys come on here and you know exactly what you would play. You're like, that amp, that guitar, those pedals or no pedals. I just can't make up my mind on these questions. That's why I asked them. Like, if you were to ask me that, I wouldn't know what to answer you. I really wouldn't.
And you know,
when
I was touring, I didn't tour a lot, but I did tour a bit. Like, in preparation for the tours, when I didn't do much, I made like massive pedal boards. Then I went on tour and I just like removed pedals, and I ended up having a really simple pedal board at the end of each tour. Then I got back home and I started making big pedal boards again. But like when touring, I just like tore everything off, and I had a tuner and a delay and an overdrive and maybe a reverb, and that was it. Even though I wanted to have more stuff on there, I just I didn't use it, or it didn't work. So I always picked off stuff and had a really small board. So I think that's where I'm liking stuff actually.
Yeah, it's
very interesting.
It's interesting you say that. So I here in my hometown there are a couple of monthly jam sessions where I usually go to and hang out and play with other people, and obviously there's not much time to do lots of sound checking and stuff. One jam kind of group goes off and you go on and you have to start pretty much right away.
Yeah.
So but in order to be happy with the stuff that's there, I take a small board that's battery powered, so I don't have to plug into any outlets or something. So small board with a there's a Joyo PB05, something like that, where there's a battery in there that can hold up to 6 hours or something. And then I'm obviously limited to, because it's a small board, to 2 or 3 pedals. And sometimes I swap them, but usually it stays the same. It's it's an overdrive, it's a boost, and it's something to do some funky modulation stuff. And I think if I was forced to tour with that, I'll be totally fine. You can put that in front of every amplifier and get the sound that you're happy with.
Yeah.
So sometimes Yngwie Malmsteen isn't right. Sometimes less is actually more, to be honest.
No, more is more.
More is more. Where's the logic?
I think this conversation has inspired a new idea. I'm gonna have to expand on it, but since I have 200 pedals, I have, I don't know, close to 10 amps at this point and 7 guitars. What would I do if I had to choose? Let's say economic times are here and I have to sell. Would I sell the expensive stuff so I can recoup some money, or would I keep the expensive stuff? I'm trying to see the consumer mindset, which I've never questioned in myself before. But hearing you guys being able to streamline everything down to really basic elements makes me wonder, am I overthinking the gear? Could I simplify it? Could I do YouTube videos with just 5 pedals back there and I just grab what I need? Because I always think that I need more. I'm like, what if I do a video on this? Then I'm not going to have that pedal and I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to have to buy it. Do I really need to be that authentic and hoard all this stuff just in order to make videos that I might get 100 views on?
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the preparedness that I want in order to make the content makes me consume way more gear than I actually need. So I don't know. I'm going to let this one simmer, but maybe I'm going to have to make a video where it's what do I do if I want to simplify this? Do I go digital? Do I just keep the HX Stomp or the Kemper? Or do I keep analog? Where's my preference? Because I got a bit of everything. And I think I'm probably being an idiot here and I got too much gear. So
I think
my wife is right.
Oh shit.
I think there's
God damn it.
I've sold a lot of gear up and through the years, and I think there's one thing that I miss, that I regret selling, and just one thing. So I guess that I could do without a lot of stuff that I have.
What did you regret
Same
selling?
for me.
It was one of those big box Origin Effects Cali 76 compressor pedals.
Yeah.
With the Lundal transformers.
Yeah.
They are super expensive now, and it was really, really good. So yeah, I wish I had that one still.
Yeah.
But that's
I hear you.
The only thing really.
Yeah, it's funny that I think I also, just from this conversation, I also just had a new funky idea, because since we talked about the Klon Centaur that you own and whatnot, I actually have up here in this register, I actually have 2,000 Clon Centaur specific diodes. So
really,
yeah, exactly. I got them from a guy locally, some like old like Russian engineer who was getting rid of all the stuff in his workshop, and I bought transistors from him, and they're mint in the box, by the way. And so the original like magic diodes in the Clon Centaur were all measured to be exactly 0.35 volts forward voltage, and that's what these are. They're like all of them. They're like matched and measured to be 0.35 volts, and they're germanium. So
cool. Is that the 1NE34 diode?
Yeah, the 1NE. That's one. That's obviously the international name for that diode. And then the Russians, they have a couple of, they essentially made the same diode, but they had like different names for different models. So usually the D9B is like the closest, or the D9E is like the closest to the one that you just mentioned, the 34.
Yeah.
But it's not so much about which one of the variants you get. It's about how much forward voltage they actually produce, or where they cap it, where the clipping actually takes place. And that was by total accident. It was like, oh, cool, this guy has diodes, and I was using them for my own pedals as well. Some of the others that he has, and and then he said, oh, I have these two. They're like still mint in the box, and they're like, all of them, they're like measured, so you don't have to measure them. I was like, really? What are they measured to? 0.35 volts. I was like, oh, how much you want for those? And I bought them for a really good course. So since each clone has 2 of those, and I have 2,000, I can make 1,000 clones.
Right. I think I actually have some D9Es as well in my drawer. Yeah, I haven't measured them though.
You should.
Yeah, I'm not cool like you guys. All I have is like a shit ton of guitar picks. Got a lot of them. They're not in demand though.
Awesome.
Oh my god. Yeah. You should definitely, Frank, make a limited run like Klon style pedal. I'm sure if you can think up a marketing scheme around it that would like really entice people. Yeah. I'm sure people would go for it, because we talked about the hype around the germanium tumnus.
Tumnus, yeah.
And and even the Nauticlon. I was like, people went ape shit over that one. So I think there's still a really high demand for like Klon style pedals.
Yeah,
I think that would be probably.
Yeah, I'm currently talking to a guy who makes these Klon style enclosures, but smaller. So he makes them in 3 different sizes, because I have original sized enclosure as well, and it's so huge, and there's so much space, and there's unnecessary, and people like to be like light and compact and whatnot. So maybe I'll make a mini version with some modifications or something,
or stackable clones, 2 clones in one box.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That would be cool.
But with the mini enclosures, they look like the original, but smaller.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. That's the thing that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, that they look really good. And when I build a clone, what I usually do is I separate the gain portions, because the original clone has like this dual potentiometer that the more gain you add, the more direct signal you add, so you maintain the clarity. And what I do is I separate those, so you can blend in purely dirty gain and clean gain. And I usually do a gain mod as well to get it up to like almost fuzzy territory, just as an option.